Welcome to the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage, where rude mechanicals do magic. Hello, I'm Bronze Age, Director of the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. And today we're at the lamp bench where we're going to turn this old fire extinguisher into a lamp. Ever since humans decided to bring fire indoors, there's been a real need for something to put the fire out when it went someplace where it wasn't wanted. And this is one of the earliest designs of fire extinguisher that actually really worked. It's very simple. All it is just an empty tank with a very tight fitting top on it. This will be filled up with a mix of water and baking soda. Up at the top there was a little basket that you'd put a bottle full of sulfuric acid. And in the event of a fire, you would grab it here, you would grab it here, turn it upside down. The sulfuric acid and the baking soda would mix together, create a tremendous amount of pressure, and a hose, which is missing, could be squirted at the fire. I don't know how far these things would spray, but I imagine they probably went a pretty good distance, so you didn't have to get that close to the fire in order to get it extinguished. Now the materials for this job is a cord set, socket, some check rings, piece of lamp pipe, and the covering tube. Now you can buy any kind of pipe or tubing that you want to. This is actually a doorbell, which isn't needed anymore, but it's very nice brass tubing, which a 1-inch check ring goes on to, and that's what we're going to use. The first thing I have to do is drill some holes, starting with this top cap, which I believe is bronze, because brass would be much more sensitive to sulfuric acid. And drilling in bronze or brass, even though it's softer than steel, can present peculiar problems. The problem is that soft metals like brass, sometimes aluminum, don't form nice little chips that break away like steel does. They form shavings, and those can wrap around the drill bit, which will pull your piece up the bit, which is never good. And the cutting edge of the bit itself can dig into the soft metal, grab it, and start spinning it at the same speed as the drill bit, which that's no fun at all. So when you're drilling anything in brass, especially small pieces, you've got to keep it held so that it can't spin and it can't rise both ways. And to do that, I always take the time and the trouble to make these kinds of jigs, which will hold the piece down and keep me going home with all my fingertips. Now I have this thing clamped down every which way it could possibly move. I've got the Packard Precision 12-speed drill press set at 1500 RPM, and we're going to drill this hole. Now the drill clamp is also handy for holding this piece still while I tap the threads. Now this is your common lamp pipe and your common lamp pipe threads. It's called 1/8 IPS. And the IP stands for iron pipe and the S stands for straight. And that's not to be confused with IPT, or NPT, sorry, National Pipe Threads Tapered. But back in the days of gas lights, the plumbing for the gas lights, the pipe fitting, the smallest pieces down to where the actual gas jet was, used this kind of pipe. And as gas light manufacturers started moving into the new electrical technology, they of course used the stuff they had laying around. And that was the 1/8 inch IPS. And so as a result of that, the only place you're going to find those threads today is on the inside of an electric lamp. The 1/8 referred to the inside diameter, but it's no longer 1/8. This is closer to somewhere a little more than 1/4 inch, not quite 5/16. The outside diameter is fairly close to 3/8. And I'm going to just keep Turning this down, backing up to break the chips. I'll put an extension on here so I can keep going until I've got the threads cut all the way through. And that's the way that's going to work. That leaves me with two more holes to drill. One in the back where the cord's going to come out, and then one in the bottom of the actual tank of the fire extinguisher. Now, I'm not really worried that the drill bit's going to grab this piece and start spinning it around the room. But what could happen if the drill bit grabs is it could break the bit itself. So I've made another drill jig here to hold this in place. Carpet padding on it, keep it from marking up the fire extinguisher. Once I get this all in place and everything in position, we'll be able to drill another hole. I'm going to turn it up on end so I can drill the hole in the bottom of the tank. I've got just that much shy of fitting this thing underneath it with the table all the way down. So I have an auxiliary table that it stands on. I've got the bracket anchored to the post up here at the top. I've got it around a strap at the bottom, and that makes this pretty solid so I can be sure that when I start to drill, it's not going to move. Now for the last bit of metal work, we're at the CAB machine shop, where I'm going to trim this piece of brass tubing to length, and we can start assembling our lamp. Now I've got all the parts gathered together, I'm going to start the assembly. It starts with a piece of lamp pipe that I've cut to length. Going to run it all the way down in here. I'm going to come out a little bit because I want to put a lock nut on here and all threaded fasteners. Get a little dose of this blue thread lock. That ensures that it won't come loose. Once that stuff sets up, it's the kind of thing that you can break loose with hand tools, but it won't come loose just because somebody's changing a light bulb or carrying the lamp around by the neck. Something I don't recommend. And then got a little plastic cord protector. Start with a check ring, the pipe, another check ring, and we'll put a 3/4 inch knurled nut up here at the top. That'll give me a nice solid foundation for the socket and the harp saddle. And because I've got this pipe here anchored at the bottom with that lock nut, I don't have to worry about getting this so tight that I actually start to bend stuff. Then the saddle and another knurled nut. Run it down. Now the reason I put a knurled nut under here is because this type of socket has a little set screw that will allow me to adjust it so that the key is to the front. because I really don't know where this is going to end up tightening down on the fire extinguisher. So all of that will just have to be adjusted a little bit later if needed. Now it's time to run the cord. And one of the signs of a homemade, hobby-made lamp is you often see a lack of cord protection. You drill a hole in a piece of sheet metal, you end up with a pretty sharp edges there. So I am tapping out this hole. This appears to be copper. And this little cord protector will screw right in there. It's the same threads as the lamp pipe. Get it started. There we go. Now if this was just a regular piece of steel sheet metal, which would be too thin to cut the threads in, you could put a little nut on the back of it and hold it in that way. Now I'm going to put another one in here and we'll be able to run the cord. Now if my hands were a little smaller, I might be able to reach in there and pull the wire up. But if my hands were smaller, my arms might be too short to reach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape the cord to this brass rod. And use it to pull it up to the top. I like to use this kind of socket with the captured ring that screws onto the top shell because they're very strong and robust. They're not going to come apart, multiple bulb changes or anything like that. This all the way down. That's good because the brake is towards the back. And all good fortune, our socket is just about there as well. Now I'm going to give the speech that I give in every lamp rewiring video because it's that important, and it's another one of those little steps that makes a difference between a good lamp rewire and the other kind. This is called the underwriter's knot. Its purpose is to hold the cord right here in case someone trips over the cord in the dark. It's very possible to rip the wires out from underneath the screw terminals. And you've got two live wires down inside a steel pipe. You go to pick up the lamp and you get zapped. Not good at all. It's very common for me to see lamps that obviously have been rewired somewhere in the past. The lamp itself might be 80, 100 years old, and it's got a 50-year-old cord that doesn't have that knot. The next thing is all lamp cords sold in the United States for lamp use with the two pieces together like this. One side the insulation has smooth and the other side has ridges. If you can't see them, you can feel them with your fingers. The socket has one silver screw and one brass screw. The side with the ridges always goes to the silver screw. Wrap the wire around it clockwise so that when you tighten the screw, it will pull the wire under the screw instead of pushing it out. Get this wrapped around it. And this screw in. And the underwriter's knot can be worked all the way up to the top. Goes down like this. Push this up in there. And all I have to do now is get the ring screwed back on, which just takes a delicate touch. Run it backwards till you feel it click over the threads, and then you run it back up. Now, this used to be a fire extinguisher. Now it's a lamp. Its days of putting out fires are over, and we can be fairly certain it's not going to start any fires in the future. So, this is Bronze Age for the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. Thank you for watching this video. Really would appreciate it if you would click the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't. Questions, comments, always welcome. I always answer them. And again, thank you for watching.